Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another new episode, new video of About Skateboarding. Now, if you're new here, my name is Sean, and I do daily videos about the whole world, the whole universe that is skateboarding, and share my thoughts, opinions, and feelings towards everything about it as well. Now, just a reminder for all of you that are new, if you wanted to catch all the audio, the streaming versions of these episodes, you can do so in full over on both Apple Podcasts and over on Spotify as well. Now, before I begin, just a reminder as well, too, that if you enjoy the videos at all, then give them a like and definitely subscribe for more, as I do release them as much as I can every single day as well. Now, the content, or that I should say the title and everything for this video that I thought of would be kind of fun to discuss would be about choosing, not choosing, but having one or more style of skateboarding. And to get into that, deeply into it now, is the fact that I think that um, I feel like it's an interesting aspect and an interesting thing to decide what avenue, if you will, about which area of skateboarding you choose to pursue in a way. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way. And what I mean is primarily the decision, if you will, or the journey of going into either primarily vert transition skating or into street skating overall and park skating. Now, if you're really rad as a skater, you'll do everything, honestly. And I kind of want to dive into more of my own childhood and my youth of when I was kind of trying to, not really decide, but just kind of like just decide what I enjoy, because it's all about the fulfillment and the enjoyment that you get out of whatever style of skating that you do. Some people like to just skate, on flat land and just do tricks on flat land. Some people love getting the big airs and going on, on quarter pipes and getting really tech. And some people like to just, do flat out street skating and go out into the streets and just, gap everything and just go downstairs and go crazy on it too. So it all depends on what you're into, and what fulfills you and what really drives you as far as a skater as well. So for me, when I was a kid, when I was thinking about when I got more serious into skating, as far as like trying to like pursue being sponsored and pursue it as like not a career but just more of a serious hobby, my initial wish and hopes were to be a professional street skater. And even which is interesting because a lot of my role models or idols back then were on both sides of the avenue, I guess, if you want to put it that, or both sides of the fence. Because it was primarily, as I mentioned in other videos, it was primarily Tony Hawk as a primary vert skater, and then I had a lot of primary street skaters like Andrew Reynolds and like Steve Barra and like a bunch of other people as well that I can't think of right this moment, but basically it was an even split because of how the videos that I bought and watched for skating were always a good mixture at that time between street and vert, which was on purpose. And I one thing I never really got over, I should say, or one thing I never got through as a skateboarder was the fear of just riding a vert ramp. I've only ever actually, like, I have dropped in on a vert ramp a few times in my life, and it was one of the scariest things I've ever done personally. And again, if you haven't watched my other videos, I'm always been describing myself as a very timid skateboarder, which means for me that I will be very cautious with how I skate and what I skate on, and you can't really have that necessarily as a skater if you want to take it far in your life as a career. You have to kind of like go head first into it in a way, and be at least somewhat smart about it, but you have to be pretty head first and just go for the journey. And for me, when I was a kid, I didn't have that mentality. I was very timid about it, and I was very anxious and nervous about trying tricks over bigger stuff and bigger things, and just the thoughts and afraid of being hurt. And you can definitely still skate and do it that way, or feel that way, but it's a lot harder to learn new tricks and to expand your journey as a skater as well. So that was always my biggest frustration with myself, emotionally and mentally, was trying to get around that hurdle on a daily basis, really, and just trying to try new tricks and trying to again further myself. And so for a while, for many years, when I was about probably, I would say 11 or 12 years old, up until about 16 or 17, I really primarily focused on just primarily street skating or even skate park skating, because I wanted to try and really hone my technical skills of a skater, as a skater I should say, to do like better flip tricks and more technical gap tricks and more technical, like flip grind, flip out kind of stuff like that. And even that was not ever easy for me, and I don't know why that is. It's just my board control was never super solid. It was always okay, And as much or as good as I felt like I mastered certain tricks like heel flips and varial flips and 360 flips, they were never easy to do. And I feel like whenever I watch, again, not to compare myself because you shouldn't, but whenever I watch like even back then, whenever I watch like the X Games or any street skating competition, and I would watch these kids or these people these skaters throw down a whole line of tricks like nothing in about a minute flat. And I didn't get like upset about it, but it was one of those things where I was like, okay, well, what am I not doing enough of to learn a trick like that? And it wasn't a commitment of time because I was literally skating as a kid. I was skating pretty much the entire day after school until like the sun went down, and I kept skating. But for some reason, my technical skills on all the tricks and things like that never really evolved or got better. But so I kind of like I didn't give up. I don't want to put it that way, but I kind of adjusted my realistic expectations of just really deciding that skateboarding would not be a job for me like that as much as I wanted it to be, and that because I had a very I mean, and I'm still passionate about it, but I had a very obsessive passion towards it as a kid, and I didn't even do any sports or anything like that. I wanted to just skate for the majority of my lifetime. And once I hit like, probably like 16, 17 years old, and then it just wasn't developing anywhere near what it really should have at that time. I feel like for that age, I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm not, as good as I want to be, and my skills are not developing. And again, it wasn't a commitment issue or a work ethic issue or doing it enough every day. It was just that I was just afraid of getting hurt a lot more. And if you watch a lot of skate videos of the best skaters in the world, they don't have that fear. I mean, maybe they do. They don't show it. I don't know. But like, I mean, whenever I watch videos of absolute professionals who have won many contests and won many championships and all that kind of stuff around the world, and whenever they are skating, they seemingly have either little to no fear, or at least they don't show any of it. And when they're doing new stuff or skating new things, and they have this drive that I just never seem to build to get my own version of. And so what I want to bring this back to, when I was bringing up the whole topic of this video, which is for which avenue of skating that you want to do. I feel like that kind of plays a lot into it as well because again, I was scared of just going on vert in general. Like I remember when I was a kid, like a 7 or 8 year old. I remember I went to one of my local like more core skate parks that has a lot more to skate, and I went to the top of the half pipe, and that looking down on it just like to where to drop in like scared me so badly. So I was just like, I don't think this is gonna happen very much. And then I did, however, work my way into the area of like doing quarter pipes and learning how to drop in on those and skate those pretty well. And then also doing mini ramps as well. And that was kind of about it. Like I did again. Eventually, I did when I got older. I did eventually start to learn how to drop in on a half pipe, but it was not anywhere near like a consistent thing. Like I didn't do it every time I saw like a half pipe or anything like that. It was just one of those things where I was like I knew that I could do it, and it was pretty consistent for me, but it was not anywhere near like where I was going to the point where I didn't feel comfortable enough dropping and then going to the other side and going up and doing an air or doing a grinder flip trick. I just never had that much confidence in it, so I just didn't really ever try it, and that always bummed me out nowadays in my late 30s where I'm like, I wish I would have tried more. But again, it's just sometimes just in your who you are as a human being with how you just view things and the challenge of it all. Sometimes it's just it isn't meant to be, and that's okay too. And so that's when I just want to choose a more focus on the street skating and kind of keep things more on the ground, so to speak. So again, that's why I kind of wanted to talk about in this video a little bit more, is because I feel like these days, or I should say, I feel like that there should be a lot more respect put on a lot of skateboarders that do all the above. There's not many of them, honestly. Most skaters, I feel like, since I've been skating since again 1998, 1999 to now, I feel like a lot of them are. There's not that many skaters that do everything very very well. There's only a few of them actually. I feel like I'm not gonna name drop them like in this video or anything like that, but I just think that there should be a lot more respect put under those kind of skaters where they can do at least some tricks or like a decent amount of tricks on a half pipe and then go street skating and kill that, and then go even on flat ground and just do a bunch of crazy stuff too. And because again, most skaters like these days, I feel like once you get to a certain point of talent and skill and mastery in your skating that a lot of them tend to just kind of like get driven towards one area, and then they pretty much primarily focus on that area and go pro in that area, and then that's what they're known for the most part. And then usually what happens, like in my experience of when I watch them grow up as a skateboarder and develop it, is when they have that point, or when they're at that point in skateboarding where they are like, okay, like we can kind of tell that they're, really choosing one area that they just kind of like excel a lot in, that they just kind of go on top of that level essentially. And it makes me wonder if, because it's definitely one of the stigmas of skateboarding. It always has been. And I remember even viewing that as a kid. Like I remember when I was watching a lot of contests that were televised, because most contests back then when I was a kid were not televised, like until like the X Games kind of started. And once the X Games came around and it was televised on ESPN for the most part, I remember that it was a thing where there was always a kind of like a stigma of a rift, not like a bias, or not kind of like a bad taste or anything like that, or like not calling like certain skaters like posers or anything like that. But there was always like a weird kind of like a weird rift between if you were a street skater versus a vert skater, and just the differences between them, which really shouldn't be any differences at all. But I always found that to be a very interesting kind of subject and topic, because to me, skateboarding is skateboarding, and none of it's easy. It's always a challenge. None of it's ever, there's never an easy day in skating, as I've said in many of my other videos, if not all of them. So I never understood the whole idea of where, you know, that whole stigma comes from. And I remember going even back to, there was a TV series that was aired on ESPN actually, which was ironically Tony Hawk's Gigantic Skate Park Tour. That I love that show, and I think I bought the DVDs for it when they came out for a very limited time. And there was a few video parts, or interviews I should say, in those where Tony Hawk is like because it's a demo tour, so they go around like him and a bunch of in his selected team members that are he's friends with. If you haven't seen it before, like he brings a bunch of people and they go on tour and they skate parks and they do demos for kids. It's all free, which is cool. And I feel like there's a few interviews with Tony Hawk in there where he kind of details and explains how he's the only vert skater, or he's one of like two total skaters that are vert only, or that do vert well enough to do a demo on it, and everyone else is all street skating. And you can kind of tell when he's explaining or detailing his experience about how kind of like depressing and sad it is, and how how as a vert skater that he hopes he can kind of fill the gap in enough and skate well enough and skate often enough in the demo to give these young kids, these young skaters that are at the demo, a solid vibe and a solid positive outlook on vert skating. Because, and he even explains in the interview, he's like I feel like, and he basically says like quote unquote, I kind of feel like the whole vert skating is going through another like kind of like a cycle of a loop where it's losing its popularity amongst young skaters because it looks either so hard to do, or just it's not cool enough looking, or whatever you want to choose for a reason. It's just not there. And you can kind of tell when he was explaining it that it made him feel really sad and depressed, because when if you've watched and even like his like he has a documentary also on HBO Max about his life as a young skater, and in that documentary he even explains in detail how the main reason why he skated vert, or learned how to skate vert in the first place, was because that's all there was to skate, and when he was a kid. So like he had no other option but besides vert skating and transition skating and bowl skating, and that's where he learned the majority of his tricks as well on vert. So he had the natural inclination to skate vert as a kid, and he says in the Gigantic Skate Park Tour videos, interviews that and this is also again back in like in 1999 or so, maybe a few years later as well. They did like 3 or 4 tours for demos, but even in that time period, he explains a lot also in the interviews about how like at that time, but in those days, how skateboarding was still very very popular, but still not popular enough to where vert skating ever had any kind of comeback or really had any kind of like major popularity. Like he was, because in my opinion, like Tony Hawk was always kind of the absolute epiphany of what vert skating ever was or could be. And if you have him in his own role kind of explaining how he feels like the role or the skating style is like somewhat defeated, or somewhat just kind of like not what it could be or what it should be anymore, it just makes you really sad. Because even these days, like in 2025 now, I noticed it a lot too, where where there's like the whole like, which I've referenced before too, but there's like the whole SLS Street League skateboarding like league, if you want to call it that, but it's a contest. And as much as I love watching it, I love watching all the technical tricks being done and all the huge gaps that these guys do and how young they are. I still miss and wish the fact that there was more vert contests that were televised, and because I feel like not enough people really respect vert skating in general or really ever have, and I feel like it's always been, or it's always had a stigma of being looked down upon as a skate style, and I don't know why that is. And I guess it's because like maybe it was never that cool, quote unquote, to begin with, or looked at as a cool thing. But when you actually like do the actual skating itself, you have no idea, and I don't really either, honestly. But you have no idea, seemingly, how hard it is to skate vert. It's a very, very, very hard thing to do, and all those tricks, like, they look easy when they're done by pro skaters or any skater that can do it, but they're actually really, really hard. Like, again, I didn't even have the courage personally to even go up the other side of a vert ramp to even try an air or try a flip trick because it scared me too much. So again, I just wanted to make a video about this because I feel like it's a very important thing to really remind us as skaters and as human beings that like every type of skateboarding is equally important. There should not be any stigma with any style of skateboarding. They're all should be equal. They're all very, very fun to do. They're all important, and they're all relevant, or they should be relevant. And so, that's kind of one thing I want all of you to take out of this video is that like if you have shied away from a style of skateboarding, and for whatever reason it is, just you should really try everything and see what you're good at, because you never know until you really try it and push yourself to learn more and more and more, because the only thing that can happen out of learning a new style of skateboarding is that your other comfort level of a different style of skateboarding will only get better and will only evolve more, which will only push you further as a skater and will only make you better overall. So that's why I've never understood the whole stigma and negativity behind skating being one side or the other, or or skaters not, actively choosing another style or trying to at least try it, just because I don't see how it could hurt them. Like physically, I guess it could, obviously, but just as far as like talent wise, it could only make you better. So yeah, that's kind of my feelings on the whole vert versus street thing. Although it shouldn't be a comparison in the beginning, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you do, again, give it a thumbs up, and also, subscribe for more content like this, as like I said before. If you have any feelings on this, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.